Okay, so today we're going to look at some exercises that are going to help strengthen the ankle. So first we're going to look at dorsiflexion. It's the action of raising or lifting your foot up towards your shin. This is a very important motion, especially in walking, as you're lifting your foot off of the ground. So some of the muscles that are involved in dorsiflexion include your tibialis anterior, that big muscle in the front of the leg there, as well as your extensor digitorum longus, this big one here that spans across the majority of your toes. So it works to lift your toes as well as lift that foot. And then we also have the extensor hallucis longus, which just goes to the big toe and works to lift the big toe as well as to dorsiflex the ankle. Okay, so now moving to the posterior aspect of the lower leg here, we're going to look at some of the muscles that work to plantar flex or point your toes. This is really important for daily activities such as pressing the foot down on the gas pedal in your car, as well as like standing on your tippy toes to reach something. So that first muscle there was your gastrocnemius. It's a big muscle that allows you to point your toes. Deep to that we have the soleus, and it again works to point the toes. If we take those away, we're going to have a look at the plantaris. It's a little muscle here that directly connects to the heel bone. And we're going to take that away. We also have the flexor hallucis longus. This connects to the underside of the big toe and works to curl the big toe, as well as it assists in pointing the toes and the foot. We also have the tibialis posterior, another main muscle in plantar flexing your foot. And we also have the flexor digitorum longus, which works to curl all of your toes. So all of those muscles work together to give you ankle stability as well as to plant that foot and point those toes down. Okay, so now we're going to have a look at some different exercises that you can do at home to help strengthen those muscles of the ankle that aid in both lifting the toes and pointing the toes, as well as ankle stability. Okay, so this first exercise we're going to look at is assisted plantar flexion and dorsiflexion. So I've just crossed the foot that we're going to be working on top of the opposite knee, and I'm using my hand to assist my foot in the ranges of pointing my toes down, so plantar flexing those toes and then lifting those toes up, which is dorsiflexion. So here you can kind of play with how much assistance you're giving your foot with your hand. Exercise number 2 is going to be the same thing but without the assistance. So again, working in that range of how far you can point and lift your toes. This is also a great stretch as well. Exercise 3 is going to be similar, but now we're adding in the aspect of gravity. So I'm sitting on the floor here, just doing the same thing, pointing those toes, lifting those toes, and really thinking about contracting those muscles hard to do that work. You can do it with 2 legs here to start, and then drop down to 1 leg or 1 foot to really just isolate that one weaker side. So all of these exercises today you can perform for 3 sets for 15 reps or more. Okay, fourth exercise here is going to be working on ankle motion. So I'm just using a little dumbbell here. You can also just use like a soup can or a water bottle, and you're just working on kind of rolling that foot back and forth on that dumbbell. So you'll notice my toes kind of lift up as I roll the dumbbell back towards me, and then my toes point down as I'm rolling that dumbbell away. Fourth exercise here is an eccentric dorsiflexion. So I'm using a band. You can also use a cane here. And I'm working on pulling those toes up with the assistance of the band, releasing the tension on the band, and then slowly letting my foot fall down or letting my toes point down. So here I'm really trying to work on using those dorsiflexion muscles, the muscles on the front of the leg, to hold my toes up as long as I can and using muscle control to slowly let those toes point back down. So you can work with the tempo here. You can, try and hold your toes up for 1 or 2 seconds or even more or less depending on your capabilities. You can also perform this exercise on the ground as well, wherever you are most comfortable. I'm using a different resistance band here that's a little bit lighter as well, so I'm working on using more of my muscles to do the work. Okay, exercise number 5 here. We're going to use a wobble board and work on some different ankle movements. So, whilst you're sitting down, place the wobble board under your feet and then slowly rotate it in a number of directions. It's great for improving both ankle range of motion and control. Wobble boards are also an effective exercise for improving the sense of proprioception, so where your limbs are in space, as well as working on balance. So this first one, I'm just working on plantar flexion and dorsiflexion of the ankle. Again, you can do this with 2 feet or just 1 foot. Play with the tempo, play with different ranges of motion, and work on placing the wobble board further or away from you as well. Here we're working on inversion and eversion, so I'm working on moving the sole of the foot towards my midline, towards the center of my body, as well as away from my body. You can also combine all of the movements together, so doing ankle rolls. You can go both ways for this as well. Okay, so next exercise here, we're just going to be working on heel lifts. So you want to have your feet about hip width apart here, so your knee is lined up right over top of that ankle. And here we're just going to work on pointing the toes down, lifting those heels up, and then bringing those heels back down. Okay, so last exercise here, we're going to grab a ball and place it right between your ankles. You can have it lower, like I'm showing in this clip, or you can bring it higher up, say around 3 to 4 inches above your ankle bones there. So here you want to focus on spreading the toes and staying grounded through both the inside and outside of the ball of the foot, and then lift the heels at the same pace, trying to keep the ankles and feet from rolling out. Here we're working on the outside peroneal muscles, which work to plantar flex and evert the foot. This is a great exercise for finding balance in the foot and ankle.